Happy New Year!
Whoa, what? We
Happy
made it.
New Year.
We
Guys,
did it.
welcome back to another and the first of a new year episode of Talkin with Andrew and Chris.
I'm Andrew.
And I am Chris, guys, and we are thrilled to have you back with us yet again. We're continuing to make good on our promise. Last year, this show refused to die, and I'm really glad it didn't because it's growing again. It's kind of like how Groot is sort of going through this journey in the MCU right now as we're about to start phase 4. We first met him as a full-fledged adult, which the show was at one point in time, but it was a bit of a different kind of adult. I mean, I'm glad we found this new vision anyways, but then it went to the baby Groot, and that was a real struggle. Star-Lord and the rest of the squad were really hurting without him by their side. They needed him, and he just
Mhm,
wasn't
mhm.
capable of producing the same strength and helping them out in the situations like he was when he
Right,
was
right.
full big Groot.
But he wanted to.
Oh, he wanted to. And
But then
now that he's
but
teenage Groot, he's a
right,
little
teenage Groot.
difficult, which I'd say that's where the show's at right now. The show's a little difficult, but it's here, you know? It's getting
Right,
back
right.
to a very solid point, and I'm very excited to really take this new year and run with it. I only have one New Year's resolution, Andrew. Do you mind if I share that with you at the top here?
Please.
Sorry, I caught you mid yawn. I caught him yawning.
You sleepy?
Oh man, that song is so good for so many reasons. But yeah, my
Yeah,
only New Year's
White and Nerdy
resolution.
by Weird Al is a pretty great song.
It is, yeah, it describes us perfectly. Um, I would say my only New Year's resolution is twofold. One, it is to grow this show stronger than it ever has been, and two, it's to put out an episode every single week, every single Wednesday for the entire year. We'll get to the bonus content on Mondays and Fridays, clips and all that other cool stuff, plus other things. But Andrew, just so you know, that's 56 episodes, 56 weeks in a row. Are we going to do that right now? We're
56.
calling this out right now. I mean, I'm willing to put my money with my marbles and whatever. I mixed up the sayings, but I'm willing to make this happen if you are. That's my New
Um
Year's resolution. Revolution. I don't know.
Resolution, I hope.
Gotcha.
Revolution seems a bit trickier. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we can do 56 episodes this year. I don't think that that's too much to ask for. I can't see the future, maybe something will come up and there will be technical difficulties or there will be a national Wi-Fi outage and we won't be able to upload or something, but
Right.
um
Who knows what the 5G
fif-
overlords?
56 episodes at least this year. I'm cool
At
with that.
least. Yeah. At least, and I like that. That's a key part in that sentence right
Cuz
there.
listen, maybe Taylor Swift or somebody else will just drop another album with no warning and we have to listen to it and talk about it, Like we can do that kind of stuff.
And we'll be in such a mojo where it's just going to be easy peasy, picking up another shift. In other words,
Right,
another shift of the
exactly,
good old talking
exactly.
with Andrew and
Plus,
Chris.
plus, I'm sure we're gonna be, pulling some friends over from Talking TV from time to time and doing some crossover goodness that everybody and their mother loves.
Yeah, I hope so.
Does your mom love crossover episodes?
I think that it's their generation's weird. Like, I was thinking about this morning actually. My mom is amazing with the internet and Google and all that type of stuff, and my dad can barely Google search to save his life. It's like some of them have sort of obtained the new way that media is shifting and is trending. Like my mom knows all about Peacock, she's all about Netflix, Hulu. She can get on in
Mm-hmm.
5
Mm-hmm.
seconds, pull up what she wants. She's got her list, she's putting things in her feed, queuing stuff up. My dad's waiting for cable to give him whatever's on. Like, oh, there's good stuff was on tonight, and I'm like, yeah, good stuff's always on because I pick what I want to watch. So it's just like that generation is tricky because I feel like some of them understand what a crossover is, and maybe it's just not for them. Some of them are super hip and they really like it, and others, you say the word crossover and they're thinking about like merging onto the highway or something, crossing over lanes, getting into that smooth middle
Okay.
lane where you can go a cool 75 and really conserve the gas
Mm,
tank. So I
right,
think it really
right,
is all a
right.
matter of who you ask, you know?
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, and speaking of asking, we have a good show in store for you today, guys. We just kind of wanted to bring in the new year with some positivity, talk about what we want to get out of the year, where we want to go, maybe reflect a little bit on the show so far. We're just going to let the conversation flow and take us wherever it may. But before we do that, we do have one thing to ask you, and it's help us make good on our promise of at least, again, the keyword at least 56 episodes. Please
Help.
subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/talking with Andrew and Chris, talking spelled
Help.
Talkin. Please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Talkin Podcast. Again, Talkin spelled Talkin, no G.
No
And
G.
last but not least, follow us and continue to support us on audio platforms. You know the places: Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Radio
Stitcher, Radio
Public,
Public.
Breaker, Overcast. Um, I feel like I'm missing 18 more because there's so many, but you
There are
guys are
so
there listening.
many.
That's all we ask. Links are in the description below. Support us any which way you can because we have a lot of things we want to do on this show. And so, Andrew, man, let's get into it. You know, it's a new year. We're in 2021. Where's your head at?
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, that's a pretty loaded question. It just hit me off rip.
Yeah.
But I'll do my best. Well, I was just actually slightly reflecting with one of my roommates that those who listen to the show will know Scott from Sports with Scott. He'll be back on this year, I'm sure, to talk
Very
about
soon. Postseason with Scott.
sports, postseason, Super Bowl Scott. Maybe even have him do a little sports segment. You never know.
Super Bowl Scott.
Anyway, we were talking about the last year, 2020. I know it's kind of scary to talk about, but it was like the first half of the year felt like it was just dragging, and it felt like the first 6 months were like 3 years in itself. And then the last 6 months kind of just flew by. All of a sudden, it was December, and I'm like, wait, what the heck happened? It's about to be a new year, but like, there's still so many things that's going on. And it felt like half of it moved by too slow, and it got everybody all anxious and scared and stuff. And then the other half zoomed by, and now nobody's ready for anything else. It's just like, it's hectic. But at the same time, I learned a lot this past year about myself, about the world, about business, about podcasting, about music, lots of stuff. So I think I'm coming out of last year better than I came into last year, which is really all you can ever hope for. What about you?
Yeah. No, it's I like that, man. Yeah, I think last year was certainly an interesting year. You know, everyone's saying it's the worst year yet. And I think let's not remember there was a black plague and other things. So we should still count our blessings because we have comforts. We were locked inside of our homes, which most of us, I'd say, thankfully are able to have like a warm bed and, a couple streaming services or an Xbox or PlayStation to sort of ease that, intensity of being locked inside, that trapped feeling, which I'm sure a lot of people felt. I know that I got really itchy and scratchy to get out of my cabin. The fever
Mm.
was a little high. And so it's a double-edged sword because it's simultaneously was a terrible year, but I feel like we got a lot out of it. We feel like I at least did some soul searching as an artist, and I was able to reassess. And with the rest of the industry on hold, it really gave me the time I needed to sort of figure out the next step, right? Like we're turning the corner in our 20s here. We're still young, but as I was talking to a good friend of the show, friend of Andrew and mine's, Jeremy, he was
Mm.
saying, I think Jeremy's still young, but you and I are young old, having a few years on him. And I think that's just the reality of it. And next year, Jeremy will certainly be young old. So brace yourself, kid.
Ooh.
But we were just sort of reflecting, and it was like, because we lost the contract, we didn't really commit to the podcast that hard. There was a lot of things weighing on us, as with everyone. But we had some things sort of happening even pre-lockdown that were a little bit of a bummer, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I needed that sort of alone time and that sort of isolation to respark my love for these creative properties and things that I want to build, properties in regards to the podcast, because of how building a podcast becomes a business more so than like a band, which obviously does, but like you're creating music for the love always. And then not saying we don't create podcasts for the love, but that's just the nature of how these things grow and develop. Like podcasts they're a little more business savvy. And so I feel refreshed, but I also feel sad that I got so much out of a year where I guess a lot of people didn't, which sucks. But also, maybe the one thing I can leave the people with is for the first 2 months of the lockdown, I was pretty much with you, you know, saying I was going to learn and study things, but just sitting in my room and maybe doing an hour and playing a lot of video games and feeling sorry for myself and thinking I was helpless. But then I was just said, you know, this is unacceptable. I'm going to teach myself things. I'm going to pick myself up by my bootstraps
Mm-hmm.
and force
Mm-hmm.
myself to learn and grow. And it was one of the best things I ever did, finding a way to prosper in arguably the worst time that we'll ever experience, hopefully, in our lifetime.
True.
And so I just think we are stronger than we know. Even people who aren't trying to be doctors, lawyers, whatever, jobs that EMTs, frontline workers that are risking their lives, even artists and creatives, everyone has a strength inside of them. And our art has helped people through this pandemic, and we should just do what we think is the best for ourselves because it will help someone else, even if it is just something as silly as throwing a podcast out there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I got out of it is find within yourself what it really is you want to do. And I don't know if that would have ever happened if I was just so bummed about like, wow, we just lost the band, we just lost everything. Like me and Andrew in a rut, it's hard to get the podcast going, and all of our friends are still making music and putting out records. And it sucks for them because I want to see them do well. But
Right.
if I'm being honest, it is kind of nice that we got a chance to recollect in a time where everyone took a pause. Timing
Right.
was good. Like if there was ever a time to
Right. Exactly.
get out of a contract, that was the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I said on this episode, we tried to do the other week, which thankfully your internet seems to be much better right now. I love
Yes.
that kind of music we made. The Stash music will always be a special place in my heart, but I just don't know if that's genuinely what would happen if I sat down at a keyboard or a
Mm-hmm.
guitar and just picked it up and played something. I want to make music
Right.
that comes from, whoa, this is what I wrote today. And it might be
Mm-hmm.
different than what I wrote yesterday, but that's fine because this is
Yeah.
me. I'm not trying to fit a mold.
Right. You know,
So I know that was a
it's
lot, Andrew.
it's
Let
funny
you
that
take
you
over.
mentioned those times because I was at work the other day and this young, he's 18. He's like talking to him is so crazy. He's so young.
Is
Like
a
you,
coworker of yours or?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a coworker of mine, and like you were just talking about how like Jeremy is young, young, and we're young, old, but this kid is like young, young, young. Like I ask him so many things, like, do you know who this person is, or have you heard of this? And he's like, no. So many, dude. When we have the classic rock radio station on, he's always like, all they do is play songs from Rock of Ages. I'm like, what do you think Rock of Ages is, dude? It's just a Broadway show of classic rock music. Like they were all songs from albums before they were in a play, dude. It's so funny, but I don't remember. I think the Chainsmokers was on because we had K104 on, and he was like, "The Chainsmokers are true G's," and I was like, "Wow, that takes me back."
Yeah, that's a sad statement too. That's a really sad
Uh,
statement.
yeah,
I mean, they're not untalented. They
they're
certainly
not they're
pioneered.
not G's, but
Yeah.
it just really took me back to when we were really making the same kind of music, just being like, this is what we're doing.
Well, it's exciting music, and
Yeah,
once you're
listen,
when you
I didn't have a bad time really. Like in Stash, I had a great time with all
me
the
too.
songs. They were always really fun to play. I had a great time.
It's so funny. Well, I guess we're
We
still in
we
the
put on one
reflection.
hell of a show.
Yeah, that we did. We were able to bring our rock and roll background to the pop field. That
Hmm.
would have been cool to see develop, but I mean, we can still do that. It's not something we can't do. It's just it's so funny to look back after the Meridian days, which my first band, we were signed to Victory Records out the gates, little babies. The oldest member was 20. I was 19. We did that for about 2 years and never really got anywhere because we were just so in the clouds and had the worst managers and we're just so not business minded that we were on this major label and we never got a good tour. We never got anything aside from a few cool press things like Sirius XM. And it's just like, I thought so much time had passed between the Stash and Meridian that that was going to be the one. But then I realized I
Hmm.
essentially did the same thing. I was just waiting for someone to do it for me.
Right.
Cool. So we built this thing up. And I know I said this on our failed podcast, but I promise you, this isn't no script I'm rehearsing, Andrew. This is just where the flow's taking me again. I just
It's
feel like I
okay.
have to say this to start the new year,
Listen, it
I
was
suppose.
it was genuine then, and it's genuine now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, so it's like one of those things where we essentially did the same thing twice, except this time with the stash, I had a way better group of people who I think also were extremely talented. I think both times I was blessed with that. And we worked so hard to garner attention of someone who was going to do it for us. But it's hilarious looking back and realizing, like, well, we were the ones getting traction on YouTube ourselves. We were the ones getting
Right.
good shows ourselves. We were the ones, selling merchandise ourselves. And then we handed it over to someone else who had great intentions, for sure. No knock on any of the labels I've worked with. But the pace is so different when you're
Right.
DIY and that hunger's there and it's all up to you. That pressure is almost comforting. And I
Right.
think
And
this
you're like, and
year,
you're kind of your own boss in that scenario too.
and I love that. I really do. And I think there's nothing better than collaborating with your creators. Like you and I, we have our production meetings for the podcast. And I'm sure once the music, which I've started writing, we just got to get together with this COVID stuff. It's, spiking again. It's really hard to meet up with a solid peace of mind, but we'll get there this
Yeah.
year. It's
Exactly.
so funny that, you know, thinking of it all, we could have just stayed doing what we were doing, worrying about ourselves and not worrying about someone else doing it for us. And who knows what would have happened with the stash? Like,
Mm-hmm.
probably would have done way better. So I think like the
Right.
one thing I've learned from the past year, even pre-lockdown, but then reflecting on it all in lockdown, is if you're an artist, if you're a creator, right? To get back to the soul of this show, why we started this podcast, right? It originally was an interview only show where we would pretty much data mine the brains of friends, peers, and successful musicians that we admired, respected, or at least wanted to be in their shoes, size wise, growth wise, in a few years' time. If
Mm-hmm.
we would have just done what we were doing, we had the answers the whole time. We just needed to be patient and continue the process.
Right.
And I learned that by then, this year, again, picking myself up from the bootstraps, reflecting and reconnecting with art, with love, but also understanding that like it takes work and it takes time, and actually starting to do the work because the lockdown made it so much easier. But then I got my job going in the summer and now I'm back in school. And because I built those healthy creative habits, now I feel like everything's just going to fall into place. And I honestly have believed that before. But when I believed it before, it was I just have to work hard enough to get someone else to work hard for me. But now it's like
Right.
I know that I need to keep doing it. And with this new entertainment industry being so in shambles, I think everyone needs to embody that mentality. And like right now, I'm standing here with literally nothing but just a feeling that I know I'm going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone who's been on our podcast that has gotten somewhere has had this feeling from the start. But except, the reggae guys, especially, they never really looked for a label. They were like, screw it. Like Pacifier. What did he say? Ted.
Oh yeah.
Nick,
Yeah. He's
sorry,
like,
Nick.
if you're wondering if your manager's doing a good job, then he's not doing a good job.
Exactly. So you just be your own manager.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I got, man. And this was the point of this episode, really, to sort of talk
Right.
very openly and honestly to the fans and our friends
Mm-hmm.
who listen. Just let
Yeah.
them
So
know where our heads
thanks.
are at.
Thanks for listening, guys. It's been awesome. This is a great episode.
Mini pod. Yeah,
Mini
man. But
pod.
is there anything else? Because that's really the big thing I got. And also, aside from really appreciate the time you have with people, because I only saw you 3 times last year, which sucked, but
I know. That's
we
so
made the
crazy.
most of it. We hung out super late, and
That's probably the least we've hung out since like I got back from Texas, which was like 8 years ago.
crazy, man. Legitimately insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'd say my last bit of reflection that I also said the first time we tried to record this episode, but I'm gonna say now because I still liked it. That for me, I just learned to take things one step at a time because I was really good at getting overwhelmed by all of my problems because I would think of all of them at the same time and be like, my life is a mess because of this and this and this and this and this and this and this. But it's like none of those problems happen at the same time and none of them are the same severity level. So you just take them as they come and just breathe, Like, no need to make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah, for sure. I guess my go-to expression that has the same sentiment is "Don't cry over spilled milk." Um,
Exactly.
I don't drink milk. I actually detest the thing, but
So
it's
you're definitely not crying over spilled milk. Maybe tears of
no,
joy.
totally tears. No, I mean I don't want to be wasteful, especially in
Fair,
these times.
fair.
But yeah, so good, man. I'm glad to hear that. Let's actually take that and run with it this year. Let's put our
Mm,
money where our mouth is. We're the ones up
mm-hmm.
here BSing for an hour each week. So let's make something of it, which we are. But you know what I'm trying to say.
For
So
sure.
Andrew,
Hmm.
2021, man. What do you think you're gonna get done this year? What do you hope to get done? Like, let me into the Andrew Jemai 2021 mindset.
2021. Well, I'm glad you asked, Chris. For one, since, it's kind of the most obvious, I would also like to see this podcast grow. I'd like to see us not only stay on track with the episode a week at least kind of deal, but also do different kinds of episodes, get a couple interesting guests, uh, do some live kind of stuff, some live streams, live discussions.
Yes.
That's a big one. I'd love to get discussions going. I want to hear from our fans.
Yeah, that's the best
Um,
part of doing.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, especially for us being natural performers, I think it'd be amazing. That'd be just be
For
would
sure.
just be so much fun.
Yeah, they're like if you think that these episodes are fun or funny or just good or whatever, then it's gonna be way better if we're live because then we're unhinged and we have the pressure of entertaining and it's trust me, I've seen Chris entertain and it's very entertaining.
Likewise,
Thank you.
likewise.
I'll say that Chris and I think, are both very good werewolf moderators, and that should be evidence enough that we'd be great live stream podcast hosts.
Would werewolf work over a live stream?
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing it like this, you just close your eyes and then you just kind of like try to point to the kid to the person. I think it could work.
Okay. See, there's so many things I want to do with the podcast this year.
Right.
I,
That's
I
just a
want to,
little hint.
yeah. Once we catch our rhythm in this new
Hmm.
year, I really want to do potentially maybe a D&D campaign.
Right. Exactly.
Potentially,
Exactly. I'm honestly, it's really slow, mainly because I want it to be like crazy in depth, but like I accidentally kind of made a nice setting for a cool D&D campaign because there was like a 3-month period at work where I would just take my laptop to work and make D&D characters because I was bored. So I made like one of every class and then made a couple extras and then with their backstories I was like, it'd be kind of cool to like make all their backstories connect somehow just for fun. And then like while I was doing that I was like I could also just have these characters be the main NPC characters in a campaign, and then there you go. And now that's kind of just what I'm trying to do. So, if that's what you want, let us know because I can do that.
we role play hard, guys. Like, we don't just kid around. Andrew and
Mm-hmm,
I did a
mm-hmm.
campaign one summer that was a part-time job, essentially. Uh,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was it was a
I
lot.
still have I still have my binder over there on the other side of my bed.
Dude, great times, man. We're breaking out.
Great times.
Um,
But besides the podcast, I also want to make a bunch of dope music, preferably with you, since that's the plan.
yeah,
Lots of
I
cool
would like
music,
that.
fun music, pop, rock, alternative, all of them put together. None of them, I don't care. As long as it's fun and genuine, that's what I'm trying to do.
Let me drop a double
Hopefully,
entendre on you right now.
hit me.
No labels. Let's just
Wow.
see what happens. You
There it
know?
is. I drop the mic, dude. I know it's connected to a stand, but you can drop it.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of bought this with my own money, so I'm not really
Okay.
trying to
All
do
right.
that, but
All
I
right, fine.
appreciate it.
Metaphorical mic drop. Yeah, and obviously with hopefully science and social situations permitting, hopefully play some shows, some
That'd be
fun,
great.
safe shows. I would
I
love
miss it
that.
so much.
Yeah, as long as it's safe, I
It's
would
really
love
started
to.
to hit me lately how
Yeah,
much I miss
especially
it.
like all these people posting like memories, being like, "Oh man, this time last year I was at this concert or this and that," and I was like,
But
"Damn,
dude, our last concert was pretty badass. Not gonna lie.
that was Avril, right?"
Avril, Avril Lavigne,
That is a good one to go out on.
for free.
And yeah, and as much as we didn't necessarily open for her, we did play before her at the same place.
Yeah, that's true. Humbleberg,
So kind of cool.
very cool.
Um, yeah, and then besides that, personally, I want to start Twitch streaming video games because I play a lot of video games, and like we've both been saying about the live thing, I kind of like to also entertain. So I think it'd be fun to be playing video games and then be able to like look and be like, "Did you guys just see me get domed by that player that was better than me because a lot of people are better than me at video games.
I could totally see you having like one of those weird sort of rectangle monitors that faces up for the chat, and you're like,
Exactly.
and I feel like you'd be like, look, chat, like that's just not my play style. Like I get it, and like I wouldn't be offended if you went to another streamer to watch him play that way, but I'm never gonna be the guy to just run in there without a plan. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Like I'll be playing Skyrim and I'll just keep seeing on the chat like run in there and chop his head off and I'm like, guys, no. Listen, chat. We're subtle. We sneak. We
Yeah,
don't leave a trace.
I would love that. And then Code Carnage will come over and sub drop you 100 subs.
Dude,
And
he'll
you're like, wow, that's so nice.
if Co Carnage hosted my stream, I'd be honored.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a career made right there. So more
Pretty
than an
much, yeah.
honor, you'd be
More
set.
than yeah,
But
pretty much.
yeah, I mean, I like that,
Hey
man. Any
Chris,
other?
what about you?
Oh no, is there any other ideas that you have?
I mean, those are pretty much the big ones. You
Yeah,
know, try. I mean, on a slightly personal note, also that I won't really get into. Just want to like myself more. I don't hate myself, but just more self love. Self confidence in general.
yeah. I'd like you to like yourself more. Makes me sad to
Thanks,
hear as your friend. But anyways, moving on. Yeah, I mean, I think
man.
hopefully we could hang on a more consistent basis. I think that would help the writing. I think that would help the music. It would help the podcast, obviously. And I would love to do a vlog on this channel, sort of like maybe if it's not like a weekly thing, but whenever we meet up, we just shoot a little video, something funny, just us hanging out, let you into what it's like when Andrew and Chris chill. Just
True,
because I'm
true.
like super interested in like all that type of stuff, the
You
filmmaking
know,
aspect of.
that's perfect because the camera that my dad gave us
Hmm.
to the show. Shout out my dad for gifting us
For
a
real.
camera. He said we could keep the
Paul.
camera and keep the lens, and he gave me this camera strap to give you for that camera. So shout out my dad.
Shout out, Paul. Thank you so much, Paul. That's amazing. Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, we have a lot of good stuff and a lot of good people that can help us really do it. So,
Exactly.
we just got to get after it, man. But, I also want to do interviews as well. I want to
Right.
I enjoy that. It's fun. I just always felt that the interviews were tough because it was hard for us to insert some of our personality into them as well, especially when it's a bigger name guest who has so much to talk about that you don't
Hmm.
want to step in and interject. So I want to strike,
Right.
really, I think it's striking a balance, a creative balance. Like the fire was resparked in 2020 on
Hmm.
all fronts of the ball, not just music. And now I think
Right.
for me, the biggest thing is finding that zen, that balance.
Right. Honestly, I think our interviews could be longer. I think that'd be a good way to do it because we'd get the guests to get all they need to say, and then we can then after the interview is done, we can just talk.
I'm not opposed. I mean, our Jace interview was one of the best. The Cameron one, I think, was amazing. And I think to go any longer on that one wouldn't have done it justice. I guess it's like a case by case basis.
Right.
Just see if they're down for however much time they can give. Yeah, so I guess that's really it, man. It seems like we're very positive minded going into the new year, and we're
Hmm.
going to make
Hmm.
good on this promise and continue to deliver you guys great content. But,
Absolutely.
Andrew, I actually wanted to ask you while we're just sort of chilling now, what have you been into lately? Is there anything that you've been watching, playing, reading that's really caught your eye, got your
Um,
interest, listening to maybe?
well, actually, I have all of those answers for you. Pretty much
Perfect.
everything you just said.
You have one for each?
Pretty much, yeah.
You just pulled an EGOT.
Yeah, pretty. I have an EGOT right now, pretty much. Um, as far as watching, my sister, when we were both at my mom's for Christmas, she got me hooked on Once Upon a Time, the ABC show.
Hmm.
So I'm on season 2 of that, and it's really good so far. And it like takes me back to when I was watching Lost because I think that the creators of it worked on Lost, and it's just like classic mystery box stuff where it's like, oh, cool, I finally found out who this guy is, but now that I know who he is, now I have like 1,000 questions because now I know his name. And then it's like, that's just like the smallest bit of it, and it's just like, oh my god. And it's just fun to see like fairy tale characters that you remember growing up with in like these new ways. Like Snow White is so badass. She's like master tracker, can hit any
Oh, I've
arrow
heard
shot
about
from
this
like
show.
a while ago. Yeah,
I know you
it's really
told me
cool.
about it, but you never gave me any specifics. You said it's kind of like Lost.
Well, it's I don't like watching trailers for stuff. I don't like to give away anything. I just want people to go in like without much expectation and just watch it and get it, you know. But
No,
yeah,
same.
it's a lot of like the main characters are like Prince Charming, Snow White, Rumpelstiltskin.
Okay. Do you know? Did you ever play that Telltale game, The Wolf Among Us?
No, I did not. Heard good things though.
It uses all those characters.
Oh
It's
really?
yeah, yeah. It's got Snow White. It's got
Like Red Riding Hood and shit.
yeah, all those guys
Right, right,
exactly.
right. That's
So
cool.
this is animated. This is live action. What's the deal here?
Live action. Live action 45-minute episodes,
Wow.
20 something episode seasons, 7 seasons, 1 season spin-off show.
So it's early 2000s then.
It's 2011 to 2018.
Okay. Damn, that's a lot of seasons. One a year?
I guess so. So far
Wild.
it's pretty good. Um playing uh one of my roommates Keith reinstalled GTA 5 on the PlayStation 5 wow, I wish. PlayStation 4 in the living room. So pretty much everybody in the house has been playing that, so I've been playing that a lot in my free time as well because that game is so fun. Like I know that Cyberpunk like theoretically is better because it's like newer and bigger and stuff, but because it's like kind of unfinished and broken right now, it's just like it's just re showing me how impressive Grand Theft Auto 5 is even though it's like 7 years old. Like
Damn.
the detail in that game and the graphics honestly still pretty much hold up for the most part, and like the physics and everything you can do is just like wow, this game was so crazy. So yeah, I've been playing that a lot. Music, I just listened to Grimes' album from 2020, Miss Anthropocene. I think that's how you say it. I'm not really sure, but that album is pretty sick. I've never listened to Grimes before, but that one is really cool. The song Delete Forever, really chill. 4 a.m. It's a bop. It's like it's sick. It's like you're in a club. It's crazy. Um, and I also just finished listening to Lady Gaga's album from 2020, Chromatica, that I never got around
Oh.
to listen to. So that
How's
was
that?
pretty. It's super dancey. Like if you're listening to this and you miss going to the clubs, then like listen to this album because you'll love it. And it's one of those things where I've heard this song on the radio forever and I had no idea it was Lady Gaga. The song Rain on Me. You know that one?
No.
It's like rain on me, me, rain on me, me, me. It's crazy. It's
I
featuring
don't.
Ariana Grande. It's a good song. I'm not doing it justice, but
Okay.
it's a
You were in
great
key
album.
there, so that was pretty cool.
Thank you.
No problem.
Um, yeah, so
Have
that
you
was a
been
cool album.
Have you been working
Uh,
on those ear training apps?
not for a little while, but I did a little bit, and then I got to a game. Like it's all set up in games, which is nice. But then I got to a game that I think is teaching me something I don't need to learn, and I got frustrated and stopped.
Gotcha. I do hate when
um,
things teach me things that I don't need to learn.
right, exactly. I'm just trying to learn like the difference in notes and stuff for my ears. Like I'm not necessarily trying to learn how to play the piano at the same time right now. I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind
For
of a
me, it's
lot
like
to
when
learn
I'm
at
in math
once.
class and the professor brings up Trump, and I'm like, how are these two connected? Talking about
Right.
fractions. It's a little
Right, right,
frustrating.
right, right. A little
I feel you.
frustrating. And then reading, barely. I've started reading my horoscope every day, which I was super against for a really long time, but like it's kind of it just kind of gives you an interesting way to think about the day sometimes, you know. Sometimes it's a
Okay.
little weird, but a lot of
You're a
times it's
horoscope
just
guy, huh? I feel like people get lost in that world.
yeah, well, I was always a skeptic, but then I don't know, I started using these apps and like they're helpful. Even if it's not like, like predicting your future, it's just like which it really isn't. It's just like, hey, you're worrying about this thing. Like, don't worry about that. And I'm like, damn, you're right. You
Okay,
know?
so it's like a pick me up, or what purpose does it serve?
It's kind of like a perspective check. You know,
Okay,
like sometimes it's just like it just makes me think about something I wasn't thinking about. And I'm like, damn, that's true. I forgot about that. You
that's
know?
good. I like that. Sometimes we need those little
Mm-hmm.
reminders
Mm-hmm.
to ourselves. We get so lost in the day to day, the grind of what we're up to, that we kind of
Exactly.
lose sight of what's important or how to stay level headed and grounded. So
Mm-hmm.
get
Mm-hmm.
it where you can. I'm not going to judge.
Exactly.
Who am I to judge? You know?
No one, dude.
Wow. All right. It's a little harsh, but I'll let it slide. I know you didn't mean it. I know you didn't mean any harm by it.
It's for the content.
You reading anything?
See,
We did.
because now I can post that clip and it'll be like drama on the Talkin with Andrew and Chris. Like,
Got it. Love it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's start those clickbait. That's what
Clickbait.
we meant by getting back to
Yeah,
positive
2021,
art.
the year of clickbait.
The year of clickbait. No, that's cool, man. But we did say we had an EGOT here, which for those who don't know, that means 4 boxes checked in the same category of each year. Andrew said that he had something he was watching, that he was playing, that he was listening to, and he also said he had something he was reading.
Well, that was it. I was reading my horoscope every day.
That doesn't count.
I said barely
I
before
meant
I
like a
said it.
book or something.
Um,
I just ordered a book, The Last Ronin. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard the name before.
It's a TMNT limited run that just came out.
Mm,
Basically, the
mm.
two creators wrote this back in the 80s when it was just the comic, before the cartoon and all that stuff had gotten
When there was
developed.
like that scary little black and white one when they were like,
Yeah, and so they had this premise where they essentially created an Elseworld story where there's only one turtle left, and I don't want to spoil who it is, and he's on a blood vengeance path, and he's going to do whatever he can to avenge his fallen brothers and of course Master Splinter. And I'm pretty
so sort of like
stoked.
an anti-hero type of deal.
Totally. Yeah, and they just got so caught up in like being comic book celebrities, whatever that's like, that they just lost the story. But one of the creators during the lockdown found an old notebook with a bunch of old ideas, and they're just publishing them because you only live once and they want to get their art out there. And so pretty
Hell
stoked
yeah!
to read it, man. It's been selling out like hotcakes. Like I ordered a fifth pressing. This thing dropped in October. That's how quickly
Wow,
these things are flying off the Amazon shelves.
damn,
So
damn.
pretty
So that's
stoked
what
on it,
you're
man.
gonna be reading. Then what have you been listening to or watching or playing?
Well, what I'm also gonna be watching is more TMNT. I ordered a my first Blu-ray and probably my only Blu-ray because these movies just aren't streaming anywhere as far as I checked. Those 1990s Ninja Turtles films, the live action
Classic.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
The third
Mm-hmm.
one's not the best, but it came with the box set and it's remastered, so I'll rewatch it. I
Mm.
love those films so much. I'll never forget Mikey doing that around the world with the yo-yo. I mean, it's just incredible, and I can't wait to rewatch those movies, man. Like I grew up with those films.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga, dude. Turtle Power, the pizza, the April
Turtle power.
O'Neil, the Casey Jones. They nailed all the casting. Those sets were awesome. That underground subway cart, like
True. True.
I'm so excited just to like have something that I can watch just for me, not covering it on any show, nothing content being created around it, just gonna get those, gonna watch them on my free time. It's gonna be great. So
Nice.
that's what I'm looking forward to watching. I just finished Cobra Kai season 3. Have you watched Cobra Kai yet?
Nope.
Bro. You probably don't care about the Karate Kid, right?
I don't remember the last time I watched it, but I've definitely seen Karate Kid 1 and 2.
You don't need to see the third one. That's just
That's with
something you don't need
Jackie
to.
Chan and Jaden Smith, right?
Yeah, you don't need to see that. It's okay if you do. It's not terrible, but you don't need it. But
Gotcha,
Cobra
gotcha.
Kai is an incredible show, man. I
But I'd have
highly
to see the Karate Kid movies to really like it, right?
no. That's the beauty of it. It's a completely refreshing take on these old characters because they do it in such a way where if you want to go back and get those Easter eggs, great, but you're not missing anything. It's just Easter eggs is what it is. It's just like not
Fan
member
service.
berries or, fan service because that's a negative word or phrase. It's just a nice nod to the old days while still being all about what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally has all the makings of something that should be a CW show, but it's just so well done and offers so many new things to like this type of I mean, it's a teen drama where they are doing karate, but then it's captivated millions of people at the same time. So it's more than that.
Right.
It's weird, man, but it's incredible. I highly suggest it. It's on Netflix now too, so it's an
I saw.
easy binge. I'll check it out, man. It's a lot of fun. So that's what I was watching, listening
Oh,
to.
dude, hold on. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but I also just remembered that this past year I watched Peaky Blinders with Scott, and then we watched Dexter, and now we're in season 3 of Breaking Bad.
nice. This is your first time watching the BB, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think of it?
So far, it's cool. I mean, everybody's kind of a piece of shit, honestly, but Hank is pretty funny. I think Hank might be my favorite so far.
Hank's great, man.
Yeah.
Highly
Goldie,
underrated.
yeah. He's so funny. Um, Yeah, Skylar's really, 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 really annoying. So,
Yes, she's terrible, but I think that's a
but
testament to her performance, you know?
oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say, such a great casting. Everyone's an incredible actor. Like even like everyone from Walter White and Jesse Pinkman all the way down to like Marie and those two Mexican hitmen. Like everybody, they know the part to play and they do it so well.
Yeah, I feel like that's the type of show when they're interviewed later on and they're like, yeah, I mean, of course I had to do Talking with Andrew and Chris, like when we were doing sort of the reunion. And it's just like, there was the dry years where I was just known as playing Walter White, or I mean, Bryan Cranston is a clip that, but maybe Hank, right? Where I was just
Yeah,
known as
right.
Hank from Breaking Bad, but it's, I mean, I also took some time away to have kids at that point in time, so I wasn't trying to act much. And now it's just I've got this whole new lease with the reboot, and I'm just so thankful that I've got to play a recognizable character. Like I feel like that's like that type of show where
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to only work that one time and get typecast because you're making so much on the reboots and so much on the
On the El
royalties and
Caminos.
syndication, right? That's what they're talking about. That's what it's all about is getting a cut of those reruns.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious to see if Netflix does that because they don't release numbers, and that's currently the home of those shows on streaming. But they at least there's going to be a royalty cut there, so
Right.
they're sitting pretty, those guys.
Sorry to interrupt. So continue.
Oh yeah, listening to Bruce Springsteen released a killer album back in 1982 called "Born in the USA." I've been really digging that.
I think I've heard of that one. Wasn't that the first one to be put on a CD?
Yeah, it was the first album ever to be. They crammed the whole record into a CD for the first time,
Yeah, it was crazy.
and a mirror disc, as they call it. And it's a good record. I mean, currently modern music, the new Justin Bieber song's great. I love the production. The melodies are undeniable. It
Mm-hmm.
somehow, I told this to Jeremy. I said, "Isn't it crazy to me that he does everything all other pop songs and pop writers are doing? It's nothing special, but yet he makes it so much better than everyone who's come before him. And he wasn't the first to do the two chord, the two note chords.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows the two note chords. He wasn't the first to do the EDM meeting pop, but whenever he does it, it's just so much better than everyone else. And his tone, man, his voice is so undeniably good that if you don't think he has a good singing voice, you're just a hater. Like, I don't know what to say.
Exactly.
I don't
Right.
want to speak. I don't even want to speak to those kind of people because they're just, they're thick headed, and you're not going to
they're
get through
just
to them.
inherently wrong. How does that
Whoa,
feel?
dude. We just got over 2020. You're going to say something like that? Just kidding. Just kidding.
I meant what I
Anyways,
said.
I know you're good. Don't worry. Listen, Bieber is great, and he's the goat,
Listen, this is my show. I can say whatever I want.
and you're gonna say it.
It's my party, and I can cry if I want to.
Quick sip. Gaming. I've been setting sail a lot, man.
Setting sail
We're going for
on
Pirate
Sea
Legend.
of Thieves.
Yes, we're going for Pirate Legend. There's only a few more fire tomes we need, then we can get full Ashens and intimidate the Seven Seas. It's
Wow.
it's a very
Intimidate.
exclusive skin, just so you know. And it's not only a skin just for your pirate or your parrot, but it's for your boat, every single weapon you use, every single utility, every single instrument, and it's gonna look badass. I cannot wait. And
What
also,
do you have to do this?
you just need to run the end game quests, which aren't difficult at all. They're just really like Where's Waldo's that are so intensely hard because the
I
maps are
see.
convoluted, and so it just takes a lot of time. And it's like you could start at 9 p.m. and end up being there till 2 a.m. on the same quest. And most times we're like, well, gotta go to bed now. Can't finish this. Way too tired. I'm like falling asleep
Mhm.
in the chair. That's
Mhm.
really where it becomes difficult. But the
Mhm.
game thrives on its journey. Whereas most games, I would say, like The Witcher and Skyrim, some of the greatest RPGs of all time,
Mhm.
do get a little tiresome traveling from place to place, even with the fast travel, with the load screen. Sea of Thieves is best played when you have a long voyage because you're on the boat. Everyone's manning the sails. You might get attacked by a kraken or a megalodon. Everyone can pull out their instruments and play some songs. You got to keep your head up because there are other players on the server and they're not always friendly. They're pretty much never friendly. And so it
Are you
keeps
guys
you.
friendly?
We pretend to be, then we rob you for everything you're worth. It's not
Like
my
true
rules.
pirates.
Pirates, man. If you're gonna play a pirate game, I mean, look, we're not wearing eye patches for nothing. As one of my
Do you guys have like a crew name or a ship name or something?
yeah, the leaky krakens.
The wow,
Yep,
the leaky krakens.
because there's never been a kraken that we ain't cut up. Dude, we found out the meta. You pull your swords out, you start chopping the krakens up because they get their tentacles around your boat and they crush your boat in. But if you
Uh
just
huh.
cut
Uh huh.
them with high level swords, it's like 5 seconds and you're out of there. And for like a
Wow.
year, it was the worst thing ever. And now we're just like, sick, we can get the loot. So we're really getting good at the game, and I love it.
Mhm.
I also play
Uh.
Warzone quite a bit, a couple times a week,
Okay.
and
Okay.
just so boring winning all the time. So Sea of Thieves poses a challenge, and that's about it, really.
Right. Well, I guess yeah. I'm also playing Overwatch. From time to time, always playing that. And I just got this game Fuser, that's made by the guys that made Rock Band. That's just mashing songs together as a DJ. The premise is absolutely ridiculous. You're like some DJ at a music festival, but the whole festival are people like taking parts of songs that already exist and putting them together, like for like remixes and mashups. So like that's pretty stupid, but the game is really fun.
The name is terrible.
Yeah, the name is not creative at all, but I mean, it's basically the video game version of a card game that they already had called Drop Mix, where you had like the board and you had cards that you put down that were the pieces of the songs.
Right.
So
You really like that one.
that one was really fun. That's why I got this game Fuser, and it's pretty fun.
Cool. That's kind of your thing, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
And then as far as reading, I'm reading a book about screenwriting to learn not only how to critique things better, but to just understand story and
Hmm.
structure and all that type of stuff. Just like a personal thing. I mean, I have a few screenplay ideas. Definitely way too busy to work on them right now,
Right, and you
but
know that I told you about my screenplay idea.
it's phenomenal. I don't want to say it here, but
Right.
The Longest Yard is going to be one hell of a story. Um, I
Let's
think
say
that's already
let's
something,
go
to be honest.
birds.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is already something.
It
But
is. That's a movie that's actually been made twice already. So
wow, so third time's a charm, or did I just miss the cue there? Okay, I think I missed
sure.
it. But and then otherwise, I'm reading this book called A Journey to a Small and Angry Planet, and it's really, really weird and really good.
Is
And
it a novel?
yeah, just a novel, not a graphic novel. No pictures and crayon colors and stuff.
Boring.
Yeah, I know it's been tough to get through, but I've been enjoying it so far. It's about this girl who leaves Mars to sort of pursue a better life. So she gets on this like mining company ship,
Is
and she
she a
meets
human?
she meets all
Okay.
these different types of. It's set thousands of years into the future.
Right.
It's really good. It was like highly rated, and this podcaster I listened to, Sam, I forget his last name right now.
Basher.
Sam Basher was like, "Yo, listen, guys, I don't recommend." He says big people books very often, but like this is one I recommend. And he was talking it up, and I was like, whatever. Got the Amazon gift card. Christmas just came and went. Might as well spend
There
it on
you
something
go.
that's gonna feed my mind. And I've been liking it so far. It's not like
Nice.
incredible, but it's certainly interesting. And I just don't
Mhm.
know if that's because I don't read enough books, and so it's hard to rate something when you're new to a field. I can't look at someone's words and be like, I mean, I guess I can. Like, that's an elegant sentence. But I feel like
Mhm.
people like will read and be like, wow, that was brilliant. Like they're thinking about everything from the adjectives to you know, the way that they move the character within and out the scene. And I'm just like, I want to
right.
get there because I feel like that's like a smart it's a smart person's train of thought to have. And
Mhm.
I want my mind to be sharp. So I think that's why I'm going to start reading. And these screenwriting books are great, but they're just so informationally heavy that I just also
Right.
needed something to go along with it that I can get through more than 12 pages and be like, just took in a lot of information that I probably could have just got from a YouTube video.
right.
so I need to just sit and think about this right now. Whereas like the story just comes in my brain. I got my mental pictures going, you know? So it's
Yeah.
nice. It's cool. Just trying to like learn and do new things on this year. So with that being said, Andrew, I mean, I have nothing else really to offer aside from the fact that I'm just freaking fired up to get this year going and
Yes.
grow and thrive.
For sure. Yeah. I'm just looking forward to a lot more talking, some more playing, some more jamming.
Yes. Yes, yes, and
Basically,
yes.
to sum it all up, just lots of creating.
Exactly. Creating with no G. And speaking of
No
that, guys,
G.
this has been the first episode of the third season of Talking with Andrew and Chris. It's going to be a good
Yes.
season, man. It's going to be a
I'm
really good season.
I'm excited.
Me too. Me too. So, Andrew, why don't you tell the people where they can find us, what they can expect from us, as if they don't already know, but all the places to
Right,
go
right,
to on the
right, right,
interwebs for this new
right.
year, this new season of our show.
I'll make it quick since we did it at the beginning of the show as well. We're on all the digital streaming platforms, talking with Andrew and Chris. Also, while you're there, check out Talkin TV because it's also good and they're doing a new season, I'm sure, and it's all going to be great just like us, blah, blah, blah. Subscribe to all that, follow us, leave a rating if you can, preferably 5 stars, because that's the one that helps us out.
It's like the
Um,
only one that matters, really.
Pretty much, yeah. Um, Besides that, we're on the social medias at Talkin Podcast, no G.
It's
Also
true.
at Talkin
Lying.
TV Podcast. Just saying.
Nah,
Um,
screw those guys.
YouTube.com/, talking with Andrew and Chris. You know the deal. Subscribe, like our videos, leave a comment, share with your friends. Do that because, again, we want to do live videos. We want to do more visual bits, and a visual bit is pointless without someone's eyes to look at it.
It's
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 kind of the
crazy
whole
how the,
point.
the visual bit becomes far less funny if no one's watching it.
Yeah, it's weird that like no one gets it if you're not looking at it. It's weird.
No, but guys, seriously, we want to do so much more, and so much of that comes from the video version of the show. So YouTube is the place to be, and we hope to see you
Right.
there. And we do appreciate all of you audio listeners. We just want new friends on YouTube, and hey, hopefully it's not too long of a journey for you guys to jump from Spotify to YouTube, because that'd be swell, wouldn't it?
It would be pretty swell, I'd say.
Cool. Well, guys, this was your first episode. This is your co-host speaking, and this was your first episode of Talking with Andrew and Chris. We just want to thank you all so much for an amazing first voyage. Please fasten your seatbelts as we prepare to land and exit the vehicle. Do they call planes vehicles or aircraft? What?
Well, an aircraft is an air vehicle, but I think they just say the aircraft.
The aircraft. Well, with that being said, Andrew, I think that we have some Warcraft to go play. Maybe. I don't even know what you're about to do with your day. I just wanted to say something that rhymed and it made no sense. But
I think I'm about to go watch another episode of Breaking Bad and then probably play more Grand Theft Auto 5, if I'm being honest.
cool. And hey, before we do that, do you have a message to leave the people with here today?
Don't worry so much and stay sweet.